Now, if you've been anticipating a racing game that has the most realistic driving mechanism, the most gorgeous graphics, a huge collection of events that you actually care about, all the while being fun, refreshing, and competitive, then my friend, you've come to the wrong place. I'm gonna take this moment to confess that you're hearing somebody who doesn't know two shits about cars. Admittedly, my car knowledge starts with and ends with. When other people head over to gas stations, they know the purpose of them being there. With me, an average day at the gas station just goes like, "Fancy Corolla you got there, sir. Mind if I put my juice in it?" "Yeah, baby, I'm thirsty." Gran Turismo 7. This may come as disappointing to some of you, but the last release from the franchise that I actually dove into was Gran Turismo 4. I touched base with 5, 6 and Sport, but that's just about it. So it's a given that a lot has changed since then. And I guess they've built this one not only from a vehicular perspective, but also from the perspective of how it is to be a professional driver. I mean, judging from the bird view for this town, it kind of speaks for itself. You've got the cafe that has menu books which are essentially campaign missions for the game. The tuning shop that lets you take a deep dive into how you can customize your vehicle from a mechanical standpoint. Then there's the strip club, which is another way of spending your in-game currency if you're not after cars, and so on. One of the other things that I noticed is how GT7 accumulates everything that its predecessors had to offer. I like to assume that the developers at Polyphony Digital had a business meeting where they all sat down and went like, "We're going to make the real driving simulator realer, starting off with realistic car sound and design, dynamic weather, pixel-perfect replicas of actual racing tracks." Alright, fuck it. Spend real money to buy cars. See, we're not talking about high-end racing games that are developed after hundreds of years of research by scientists that are ethically privileged to wipe their asses with your college degree and then be awarded a Grammy for the sound that is produced when they flush the toilet. High-end games in which they patent the sound so well that they use and then reuse it throughout multiple sections of the game. And simply put, that's just not how things work with Gran Turismo. So although they've successfully managed to offend the ancestry of every single person in its fan base with the whole microtransaction episode that they had, you have to see what's beneath the surface to truly understand why they made such a move. Because when your higher-ups tell you to go make a game that can compete with reality, it's not the sales that are gonna generate revenue after you end up pouring millions into recording unique samples of all the "oh shit, I forgot to close the incognito window on my office computer"-esque brake sounds for every goddamn vehicle. As far as realism goes, GT games have always been pretty conservative with one thing in particular, and that's road rage. So I want to ask the developers, you call yourself the real driving simulator. Have you ever perhaps seen how, I don't know, people drive in real life? This is an atrocity. To demonstrate how people actually drive, here's a scenario. You find yourself in a situation where someone is driving well within the speed limits, which is offensive to you. They shift to the other lane like a civilized human being so that you would pass. But since you're already drowning into your own PTSD about how the driver was in your way in the first place, you decide to slow down and give them a death stare. And what happens next will shock the living shit out of you. But life is a highway, and after a while you start to feel like shit about your actions. Maybe you were a little bit harsh on the guy. So you slow down and wait for the driver to catch up. And because it's highly unlikely that they'll ever get to be in a sports car, you give them a little assist and let them experience how it is to go like... until the path separates for the both of you till you see each other again. Which is in 5 seconds. Lastly, when you look at the challenge aspect of the game, I guess they've stayed true to their origins. Specifically speaking, the licenses. The GT license progression structure has been designed in a way that it gets you started with the absolute minimal possible effort. Effort so minimal that one could say that it's done deliberately to mislead you into generalizing the rest of the challenges. because the developers of the game want you to feel like the dominant alpha racer or whatever the hell you want to call it. Now, if you look closely, you'll realize that a lot of this reminisces with a certain other game that actually has nothing to do with Gran Turismo per se, but has quite the uncanny resemblance in this area. That game is Dark Souls. Because in Souls games, the first enemy that you encounter is the only quote-unquote easy enemy. So in hindsight, let's just say that these games want you to let your guard down just so they can set you up for a moment where you clench your butthole in the fraction of a second. And I'm a firm believer of the idea that they've used similar psychological horror elements in Gran Turismo. They make you start off with some kind of basic-ass perpendicular parking sequence right before tossing you into the racing equivalent of Dante's Inferno.